Welcome to Subconscious Conversations, where we take a look into the intricate world of the subconscious mind and how to heal the body, mind, heart, and spirit through its wisdom and guidance. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Brielle, and I'm the soul practitioner at Springseed Wellness, where I practice the energy medicine techniques of emotion code, body code, and belief code, which were created by the wonderful Dr. Bradley Nelson. And as of now, I'm also practicing my very own method that I just created, which I've named Soul Survey. But before I get into what all Soul Survey does, I want to talk about why I created it. And I guess it probably started when I was going through the trauma of my life falling apart, and I was really questioning a lot of things in life. I was questioning myself, questioning life in general, and just wondering how I would possibly find the strength to get through it all. And thankfully, I found energy medicine and started working towards healing my trauma, but I would still have times where I would feel this way. And I realized that I wasn't alone at all in that feeling. There are a ton of people out there who are hurting, who are questioning everything in their lives, feeling defeated, depressed, isolated, unloved, overwhelmed, feeling like they're a failure, and not knowing how to find the strength to get through. Now, of course, we all have different lives and different sets of traumas that got us to that point, but the common themes I was noticing was this overwhelming questioning of why am I here? What's my purpose? When will I find love? And what does that even look like? Why do I feel so isolated and alone? When will the pain stop? How much more of this can I handle? Why is this happening to me? And while I still can't answer all of those questions in absolute detail, I felt very compelled to try and devise a method that could tap into some of those answers by, again, opening up a conversation directly with the subconscious mind and gaining deeper insight into the core essence of the person's soul and character. So, in this method, we take a look at your spiritual guides, your purpose and destiny, what qualities are best or worst for you in a mate, what sort of job would align best with you, where you've stayed on course or deviated off course, and then we clear up anything holding you back from your true path. Which can include anything from past life trauma, inherited or ancestral trauma, or traumas from this life. So it's a little bit more informational rather than interventional, but it does tie into the other modalities really well when it comes to clearing up anything that needs to be addressed in order to help you move forward in the best way possible. Now, I want to make a very important clarification here. A lot of people are very concerned with their love lives and their career lives, and rightfully so, because if you're not happy in either of those regards, it's going to affect pretty much everything else in your life. So I included those things in this method to the best of my ability. But as I've stated in previous episodes, I am not able to predict your future in any way, which means there are limitations when it comes to these subjects. Now, I can't tell you who you should be with or if your current flame is right for you. Only you can make that determination. But what I can tell you is what qualities in a person most deeply resonate with or aggravate your soul. I can't tell you what job to get or whether you will be successful or happy at your job, but what I can tell you is what sort of fields or tasks align most with your soul qualities. But everything else beyond that are your personal choices which create your personal experiences. Likewise, I can't tell you about any future destined events in your life. I can only tell you if you're on the right track, if there's anything you need to change, and possibly some basic information about past events that were destined, or at least that impacted you deeply enough to be kind of on the same level as a destined event. Um, and I can give you a broad perspective of the overarching purpose of your soul in this life, but how exactly you accomplish that or integrate that goal into your life, again, comes down to your free will choices. And I just wanted to be very clear about those parameters before I accidentally give someone the wrong impression of what sort of information I'm able to provide in a soul survey session. Now, the most exciting parts of this method, in my personal opinion, are exploring your spiritual guides and clearing up anything holding you back. I love helping people find how many guides they have, who they are, helping you realize how much support you have, determine if you're receiving their guidance well, and if not, how to start receiving their guidance more clearly. And I absolutely love exploring what might be holding you back so that we can clear that up to help you move forward. For example, one of the most impactful things in this method is being able to call back fragments of someone's soul which may have fractured off during particular traumatic events. Now, the body code does address a few other spiritual ailments which are a little bit similar to this, but the soul fragments is a different level of soul injury than what's addressed with body code. So I really wanted to be able to include it into Soul Survey. And being able to figure out how to do that and being able to call back my own fractured segments of my soul was truly an amazing thing. And I couldn't be happier. I finally feel whole again, and it's just wonderful. And I have to actually give my supremely wonderful mom a huge amount of credit for that, because I would not have incorporated that into this method if it weren't for her suggestion. Not only is she one of my biggest cheerleaders in life, but she has really helped me a ton with guidance and information throughout, well, my entire life. But that guidance has been so hugely helpful during this whole process of creating this method, and I just can't thank her enough. And another really wonderful thing about my mom, which I mentioned in the last episode, is she raised me to have an open mind and an open heart about a lot of different religions, beliefs, and viewpoints of all sorts. And I know everyone has different beliefs and different faiths, but I still want to help them all. So I tried my very best to incorporate as diverse of a collection of things as possible, because bottom line, I really don't care what your particular beliefs are. I just want to help you feel better if you feel bad. So I really attempted to be all inclusive with the way I set this up so that it would benefit as many diverse people as possible. But that could result in a situation where someone comes to me for a soul survey session and say they practice this specific religion, and something comes up that might be from a totally different religion or something completely outside of religion altogether. But that's okay. This isn't intended to be a religious exploration, but rather an exploration of your own spirit. And I'm never trying to make anyone feel uncomfortable. I would never try to tell anyone to believe anything outside of their own belief systems. If something outside your beliefs comes up, it's simply an indication that something inside your soul resonates with the qualities of whatever it is that's coming up. In other words, my main focus is actually on the underlying values of the various things rather than on the specific labels that we put on them. For example, it might come up that you have a dragon as one of your spirit guides. If you believe in dragons and you want to take that literally, great. If you don't believe in dragons, then simply look at it as a reminder from yourself to yourself that you have the great qualities of strength, power, resilience, and the ability to ferociously protect what's important to you if need be. So, bottom line, how literally you take the information I give you is completely up to you. This method is intended to highlight the fact that we all have help, support, and loving guides with us at all times, and to remind us of the wonderful qualities we have inside of us, and to show us where we need to direct our attention for healing and growing. It's intended to help us open our focus and become more connected to the world around us, to each other, to nature, to the universe. And it's also an impactful way to clear up anything getting in the way of us living our best lives. Now, I'm going to go on another bit of a side rant here to explain why I believe so many people struggle with these issues so deeply. For one, I think the questions of why am I here, what is my purpose, those are pretty much just the age-old questions that humanity has been asking from day one. But it seems to be an increasing issue in our society lately, and I honestly think it's largely due to technology. Now, don't get me wrong, technology is great, and I really wouldn't want to live life without it. I am in my mid-40s, so I do remember life before cell phones, before computers were household items, and heck, before the internet. And I could go on, but my point is, while I know I can live a life without the technology that we have today, I really kind of prefer the ease of life that I have with it. However, as I reflect on my childhood without these things, I can definitely see that many people are missing out on a great deal of other aspects in life because technology is just such a huge controlling part of daily life now. Now, on the positive side, technology has created more connection with each other and with the world, which enriches our personal connections and expands our minds and expands our understanding of different people and different parts of the world. And we can easily research and learn about anything that we have a question about, and it's so great to be able to learn so quickly and efficiently. But the downside of technology is we also end up getting more in touch with our own egos as social media creates a dynamic where people are competing for attention, which creates an escalation of improper attention-seeking behavior and an increase in the desire to portray a perfect and exciting life rather than truly being genuine and authentic. And when we spend more time actively engaged in our ego and trying to pretend like we're perfect, we lose touch of the truly important things in life. And even though technology makes it easier to stay in contact with people that you might otherwise drift apart from, I've also seen a significant decline in the way humans interact with one another. For instance, I'll see teenagers sitting across the room texting one another as a way of flirting rather than actually standing next to one another and speaking. I will see a couple out for a meal at a restaurant and they're both on their phones checking their social media the whole time rather than paying attention to each other. And if you think about it, most communication in today's world is nonverbal. It's texts, emails, online comments, and so on. And when our personal interactions are from a distance, there's a whole ton of subtle information that we're missing out on by not actually hearing the vibration and the tone of the person's voice and being next to them energetically. You don't hear the inflections or the sarcasm or the passion in their voice. You don't see the mannerisms or pick up on their energetic signals. And it's really easy to misunderstand what the other person means by their words if the only context you're receiving is the flat words themselves. Voice and body language are things that are so subtle that most of us don't even pay attention to them, but it actually makes a lot of difference in the way we interact with one another. But when most of our communication comes from a form that's so easily misunderstood, we end up being in more conflict more often with those around us, and we feel isolated and, well, misunderstood. And another downside to technology is we tend to spend less time outside. Therefore, we have less connection with the natural world around us. We forget to be in awe about the million ways this world is miraculous and magical. And that leads us to feel more disconnected from the very thing that gives us life, which leads us to feeling more disconnected from ourselves, from our own true path and purpose in life. And I'm totally guilty of this myself. It's so easy to get wrapped up in electronic day-to-day activities that I don't get out and do things nearly as often as I should. But I do try to go outside at least once a day and just take some time to marvel at the butterflies floating playfully through the air, the dragonflies shimmering in the sun, the sweet sound of the birds' songs, the smell of the earth. I'll say hello to cute little beetles crawling through the grass, and I'll tell a flower how beautiful it is. Yes, I'm that crazy person. I talk to plants, insects, and animals all the time, out loud, in public, and I don't care. Because I think if we all took more time to connect to the natural world more often, we would all feel a lot happier and a lot more grounded. So, if people see me doing these things and they think I'm crazy, that's fine, but maybe there's a little spark of encouragement for them to feel less ashamed of engaging with the natural world themselves. And here's a little side story for you. In fact, I saved a moth's life the other day that was drowning in a water bowl. I totally thought the poor thing was a goner, but I gently scooped it out of the water, gently placed it on the seat of a chair, gently scooted it across the seat of the chair, and gently rolled it over a few times, trying to help it dry off, and in my mind, maybe even acting as a little form of moth CPR. And eventually, the moth came to and was able to fly away. Now, the average person would not do that, and most people are probably wondering why I would even bother to save a moth's life. But to me, I just can't see anyone or anything in need and not want to help. And who knows, maybe that beautiful moth landed on a child's arm later that day, and maybe that beautiful moment helped that child get through a tough time. You never know how the kindnesses that you practice will have a positive ripple effect, but I believe they do nonetheless. Every kind thing we do, every time we connect in a meaningful way with anything and everything in the world around us, the happier our hearts are going to be. And my hope is that this method will help people get more of that back in their lives. I see so many people in the world today who are feeling so alone, isolated, misunderstood, lost, and uncertain. And I want to do whatever I can to help people connect to their own spirit on a deeper level, to understand their uniquely deeply ingrained spiritual connections to nature, to the universe, and to each other, and to encourage and inspire personal growth. I want to help everyone feel connected, loved, supported, empowered, and important. So, if a soul survey session sounds like something you would enjoy exploring, please reach out. You can find me at springseedwellness.com, or you can email me at springseedwellness@gmail.com. But until then, thank you so much for joining me today, and please join me for next episode where I will be discussing emotional triggers. See you then! If you would like to set up a session with me to experience this work for yourself, please go to springseedwellness.com. If you would like to find a practitioner in your local area, please go to discoverhealing.com. And please always feel free to reach out with any questions or specific topics you would like me to address. See you next episode.